All right, so yeah, a lot of my NFL predictions may be changed, and Micah Parsons getting traded to the Packers had a lot to do with that. But I had up until today, whenever you're watching this, this was the deadline I gave myself. This video is coming out the Sunday before the NFL season kicks off. But guys, these are my official final NFL predictions. Some of it's a little crazy, some of it, I don't know. It's a lot. Today we're doing division standings, award predictions, and I'm ultimately going to give you guys my full playoff bracket. Let's just crack open a nice fucking white Monty. Cheers, fellas. Let's talk NFL predictions. All right, as I mentioned, we are starting with division standings. We're going to start with the AFC East. As I mentioned, I do have the Buffalo Bills still winning this division with a 12-5 record, being the only playoff team. Simply put, they have the best quarterback in the division by far, Josh Allen. He's the MVP from last year. He's still a very high MVP candidate this year. They have the best offensive line by far in this division. James Cook re-signed, so I don't expect their run game offense to change much. Do we see some upgraded play from a Khalil Shakur, a Keon Coleman, a Dalton Kincaid, perhaps? But to be honest, to be good in the regular season, I don't think Buffalo truly needs that. Sean McDermott will have this defense playing very well as well. The Patriots, I have them at 9-8. I do believe in Drake May and Mike Vrabel turning around this Patriots team, but simply put, going from a top 5 pick to a playoff team in a very competitive AFC feels like a very hefty task for this team. I don't believe in their offensive line. I do think there's going to be a ton of games where Drake May is running for his life, and while I like his weapons in Travion Henderson and Stephon Diggs and Kyle Williams and Hunter Henry, I don't believe it's enough to week be a double-digit win team in the NFL yet, but I do think that the Patriots have really started building a great core there. Miami at 6-11. You guys know this. I've never been a believer in the Miami Dolphins. I don't believe Tua will be able to stay healthy, especially behind a worse offensive line. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Tyreek Hill moved at some point this season. The bright spot for the Dolphins is I do love their defensive line. Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. Like, if those guys could all stay healthy, that's a great defensive line. And then the New York Jets, man, 5-12 to 5-12, but this is a very different 5-12. I expect Aaron Glenn to come in and change the culture, get that defense kind of back to what it was a couple of years ago, and I'm happy that Justin Fields gets a shot, man. Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall are good weapons to work with, and the Jets do have one of the better offensive lines in football, so this is his shot, and if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. The AFC North, not much has changed for me here. I do still have the Baltimore Ravens winning this division and being the 1 seed overall in the AFC at a 13-4 record. I have Pittsburgh getting into the playoffs at 10-7, Cincinnati just barely missing the playoffs at 9-8, and the Browns all the way at 3-14. The Baltimore Ravens, on paper, this is the best roster in the entire AFC. They have Pro Bowl, all pro level talent on both sides of the ball. Lamar Jackson, I think, is still evolving and still improving as a player. I wouldn't be shocked if he won the MVP this year. I'll believe Derrick Henry is slowing down when I see it. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, a great weapon score when Lamar Jackson himself is already a weapon. That defense is a top 5 talent in the NFL. Matabuke, Mike Green, Roquan Smith, Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, like Jair Alexander. This is just a loaded team. I'd be shocked if they didn't win 12 plus games in the regular season. The Pittsburgh Steelers, man, I know that they're kind of a popular pick to, hey, the Steelers are going to miss the playoffs. This is the year, and I'm not going to lie, I've fallen for the trap previously. I'm done falling for the trap, dude. Mike Tomlin just wins football games, plain and simple. And when I look at this team, I actually think it might be better than last year's team. Now, I just think some of the AFC also improved a ton, so I still have Pittsburgh as my 7 seed at 10-7. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rodgers miss some games throughout the season, but I do think he's the best quarterback that they've had since Big Ben, to be truthful. DK Metcalf comes in now as the wide receiver 1. I'm excited for Caleb Johnson out of Iowa. They do have a young, improving offensive line. The defense, you could say that this is a top 5 defense in football. TJ Watt, Patrick Queen, you brought in Jalen Ramsey. This will be a really fun unit. Cincinnati, I still have them at 9-8. I know that they got the Trey Hendrickson deal done. I talked about this in the AFC North preview that I did earlier this summer, but insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting different results. The Cincinnati Bengals missed the playoffs last year at 9-8 and said, let's run it back. So I have them running it back to 9-8. I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. He's my favorite player in the NFL. I think T. Higgins is vastly underrated, but aside from that trio, they are lacking. I like Chase Brown for fantasy, but I don't think he's an amazing NFL running back. The offensive line is mid at best, and the defense is going to be bottom 5 in football. And I don't believe in Zach Taylor. That is not a formula to go to the playoffs. That is a formula to ask Joe Burrow to be fucking Superman. And the Cleveland Browns at 3-14, after seeing Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, I knocked them down a win or two, I believe. I just don't believe that either of those guys are going to be able to come in and turn around the Browns season, and eventually they're going to get to play, and I think it's going to be bad, to be honest. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is enough of a playmaker, and I think Shedeur Sanders tries too hard to be a playmaker, so it's going to be a bad season again for the Browns. The AFC South, I made some shifts. I have the Houston Texans winning this division at 11-6, the Colts finishing in second at 6-11, the Jaguars 6-11, and the Titans 5-12. This is still a division that I feel pretty much the same about. Anybody that's betting against Houston to win this division, I think, is just trying to be takey at this point. They have the best quarterback, they have the best head coach, they have the best wide receiver. Well, yeah, no, I think Nico's better than Brian Thomas. They have the best defense by far in the division. They might have the best defense in the entire NFL, if we're being honest. The only knock that you have on Houston is their offensive line, but I'm not sold that Jacksonville has a better offensive line, to be completely honest. Tennessee is only a little bit better, and the Colts is good, but you have Daniel Jones at quarterback. So to me, this is the easiest division to predict in the NFL. I think Houston is going to walk away with it. I have them winning the division by 5 games. Like, they could probably rest guys in week 17 and 18 and still win this division, if we're being completely honest. The people that are bought into Jacksonville, I just don't buy it. I have the Colts also at 6-11, but if you had me predict which one of those teams is going to be better, if I knew that one of them was, I'd pick the Colts, man. The Colts have a better O-line and a better defense. I don't know what Trevor Lawrence is. You guys know that I'm a guy who likes to still believe in Trevor Lawrence and hope for the best, but even if Trevor Lawrence figures it out under Liam Cohen, it's a bad offensive line. I don't know if they have a real run game, and their defense is still atrocious. For the Colts, I don't believe in Daniel Jones. I like Shane Steichen, but I think it's possible that the new ownership group comes in and they want to pick their head coach, they want to pick their GM, they want to pick their quarterback, and we see a complete reset for the Colts. And Cam Ward, I do believe in, but the weapons aren't there in Tennessee. We already saw glimpses of it in the preseason. Cam Ward's throwing absolute dots and guys are just dropping passes. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a lot of that this year in Tennessee. The defense is a little slept on, but ultimately, we watched him play football last year, and I'm not sold on Callahan as the head coach either. Moving to the AFC West, what I have is the most competitive division in the entire AFC. I do still have the Denver Broncos winning this division at 11-6. I have Kansas City finishing 5th in the conference at 11-6. The Chargers make the playoffs at 10-7, and the Raiders just miss out at 9-8. The Broncos, to me, I think that they're a great regular season success team. I think Bo Nix will develop further in year 2, more comfortable in the Sean Payton offense, and we'll at least see a consistent Denver Broncos offense. This was a really solid offense towards the end of the year when Bo Nix started to figure it out, get his connection with those pieces. I do think with Dobbins and Harvey, while maybe it's not the best running back room in football, it's an upgrade from what they had last year. They do have the best offensive line and best defense in this division. That does matter to me, especially over the course of a 17-game season. Sean Payton is a great head coach, and I do think that it's possible if the Broncos could make a move for a wide receiver at the trade deadline, that they could be vaulted into tier 1 Super Bowl contenders. Kansas City, I have them pulling back in the regular season this year. They did win 15 games last year, but they were 11-1 in one-score games. Ultimately, that's always going to come back to the mean. I do still think Kansas City is, of course, the boogeyman of the AFC. They've represented the AFC in the Super Bowl, the last 3 years, and 5 of the last 6, something crazy like that. I don't have the number, but you have Mahomes, you have Andy Reid, you have Travis Kelce still at his age, Rashee Rice, 6-game suspension, so theoretically they have him from week 7 on. Pacheco back healthy. They did make some changes to the offensive line. I almost said improvements, but I'm not fully sure their improvements is losing Joe Thuney, but actually getting a left tackle in Jeffrey Simmons. An upgrade, it depends how well Simmons plays. And Then you look at the defense, Spags calling that defense. You still have Chris Jones, you still have Bolton, you still have McDuffie, Karlaftis. Like, Kansas City is still going to be Kansas City, but ultimately, I just think that 11-1 in one-score games has to come back to some sort of mean. The Chargers 10-7. They did lose Rashawn Slater, and I thought about bumping them down a game for that, but ultimately, I'm going to stick to my own advice, man. Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, 2 top 10 guys at their spot in head coach and quarterback. I'm not going to bet against a team that has that. I do like that the moves that they made this offseason in terms of building for the future. It kind of made them lateral talent-wise for this year, but when you develop Omarion Hampton, you have Ladd McConkey, Trey Harris, they brought back Keenan Allen. Like, the offensive weapons core for Justin Herbert is a lot better this year. They did lose some guys on the defense. I think Poona Ford's going to be greatly missed in their defensive run game, and I do think that they could benefit from adding some veterans to that defense, but ultimately it's a young group with a lot of players that I do believe in. And then the Raiders, man, 9-8. If they were in a different division, perhaps they could be a playoff team, but in this division, somebody's got to miss out. I think it's almost virtually impossible in the NFL for a division to house 4 playoff teams. Like, I know it's possible now with the 7-team playoff, but very, very unlikely. Geno Smith, Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, like, that is going to be a fun offensive core. I do believe Raiders games are going to be fun to watch. I don't think there's enough talent on the defensive end for Pete Carroll to mold to compete in this AFC West division, but the Raiders by no means are going to be a bad football team. This is a good football team. They're just unfortunately in a great division. Over to the NFC now, starting with the NFC East. I do have the Philadelphia Eagles once again winning this division at 12-5, the first back-to-back division winners in this division since 2004, 2005 when the Eagles did it. The Commanders at 10-7, missing the playoffs. The Giants at 4-13, finishing third in the division, and the Dallas Cowboys at 4-13, finishing last in the division. The Philadelphia Eagles, I think they have too much talent. This is a team that reminds me of the Legion of Boom Seahawks in terms of a team that I think is so well-rounded that I wouldn't be shocked if they made it back to the Super Bowl the following year after winning the Super Bowl. The offensive core completely still together. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, that offensive line, Dallas Goedert, like, it's too much talent. On the defensive side of the ball, it's a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You still have Reed Blankenship, Jordan Davis. You're developing Amoro Ojomo. You drafted Makuba. You drafted Jahad Campbell. Like, this is a team plentiful of talent still. I know it's popular to pick another team to win the NFC East. I don't see it this year. The Commanders missing the playoffs at 10-7. It just goes to show you guys how many great teams I think there are in the NFC. I think naturally there could be some pullback for the Commanders. We see this a lot of times in the NFL. Really hot rookie years from quarterbacks that are really solid when they get to the NFL. Play a 4th place schedule. Teams don't know what's coming. They win a lot of football games, and then everybody predicts them to the following year, win the division, go to the Super Bowl, win multiple playoff games, whatever it is, and then they disappoint. We saw this with the Texans. We saw this with the Packers, where things just aren't always linear in the NFL. I have some pullback here for the Commanders. I don't trust their run game. I don't trust their defense. It's a lot of old guys. It's the oldest team in the NFL. That can catch up to you in the second half of the year. And now that they're playing a tough schedule, the NFC East plays the AFC West and the NFC North. I do have them winning 10 games, but I have them missing the playoffs. And then the Giants, man, they're better than their record says. If the NFC East didn't have such a tough schedule, I think I might have picked the Giants to be a sleeper playoff team. 2026, though, Giants fans, I think you're going to be there. They have the best defensive line in football. Malik Neighbors. You have Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. I want to see Jackson Dart out there. He looked great in the preseason. I know it's just preseason, but he looked great. Scadaboo Tracy. I love Brian Daboll as a head coach. Dallas, they trade away Micah Parsons. I think that their defense now could be at the same tier as Cincinnati. This is a bad defensive unit now. They brought in Kenny Clark in the deal, which will help their run defense, but with DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons gone, they virtually have no pass rush. I think teams are going to be able to throw all over them all day. Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland, do I trust them to stay healthy? Do I trust Dak to stay healthy? This feels like a disastrous season loading up for Dallas. The NFC North is just simply put the best fucking division in football, and I had an absolute hard time making my predictions here. I have the Lions now once again winning this division. I know that people that watched originally, I had the Vikings winning and why did the Packers getting Micah Parsons. When I repicked the games, this is what happened. Okay, so this is what we're rolling with. Division record kind of led to this outcome here. The Detroit Lions win the division at 11-6 once again. Yes, they lose Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, but similar to the way that I talked about Philly, there is just a ton of damn talent on this team. Goff, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta. The offensive line is still good, even with losing Frank Ragnow. Offense loaded. The defensive side of the ball was super injury-riddled last year, but healthy. Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, Aleem McNeil, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. You brought in DJ Reed. You still have Terry. Like, the pieces on this team are still very much there from a talent aspect. After what we saw versus Washington, I do have concerns, Lions fans, about what this team can do in the playoffs, but in the regular season, we know they're a good team. I have them dropping 4 games from losing both coordinators and Frank Ragnow, but even at that, it's still good enough to win this division. In second in the division, I have the Green Bay Packers 11-6 in the playoffs. The Micah Parsons deal for me did vault this team into a legit Super Bowl contender and a tier 1 contender. They, yes, are a wild card team, but that just goes to show how good the NFC North is. I do think they would have won other divisions in the NFC without giving up too much away. The Micah Parsons deal, he is an elite pass rusher. He is a game wrecker, and that will serve them well in big time regular season games in this division and of course in playoff games. If Matthew Golden is a hit for this team, like, watch the fuck out, because if they have a legit wide receiver 1, Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur is calling plays, a top 15 offensive line, and now a top 10 defense, like, that's all the makings of a Super Bowl team, for sure. I have the Minnesota Vikings still at 11-6 making the playoffs, but they are a wild card team for me now. I still think that expecting the Vikings to drop from 14 wins to 8 wins is a massive leap for some people, and if you're not putting Sam Darnold in your top 10 quarterbacks, then I don't know why you would make that prediction as well, because this roster is still loaded. They still have a great offensive line. They still have a great defensive line. They actually improved the defensive line. Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Jalen Naylor, like Adam Thielen now back on the team. They have so many offensive weapons. If JJ McCarthy is just 75-80% of what Sam Darnold is, this is a 10-11 win team. If he could perhaps be better than Sam Darnold, then what's the limit for the Minnesota Vikings? Kevin O'Connell, the coach of the year, is still coaching up this team. You have Brian Flores running that defense. The secondary does worry me a little bit, but with how good the defensive line and linebackers are, I do think that that will mitigate some of that. It could be their demise come playoff time and come playing elite offensive lines, but throughout the regular season, I don't think it's a massive concern. And I actually have the Bears now missing the playoffs as well at 10-7. Similar to Washington, man, it just goes to show how loaded the NFC is. I do think the Bears are a much better team this year, and if they were in literally any other division, they'd be a playoff team. But in this division, I just don't think enough progression happens this year that they catch up. I think that the defense needs a couple additional pieces. I don't think the offense is going to completely gel right away. I think there is going to be some sloppy football as Caleb Williams finds himself, as DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Bird, and Colston Loveland in that running back room figures out its roles. As the offensive line starts to gel together, there will be learning curves. This will be a great team come the end of the season. And would I be shocked if they were a playoff team? Absolutely not. But when it came to picking one of the teams in this division to miss the playoffs, I went with the team that had to improve the most to get into the playoffs. I hope that statement made sense. The NFC South, I have virtually the same. I have the Buccaneers at 11-6. Actually, now is the 2 seed in the entire NFC after the Micah Parsons deal. So the Buccaneers benefit from that. Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to have an MVP level year. Emeka Egbuka, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan will eventually be healthy. Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Cade Otton. The weapons are there for Tampa to have an elite offense this year. Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin actually both passed their physicals, so they're not even starting the year on the pup. That's great news for the Buccaneers. The defense should still be solid with guys like Levante David and Winfield on that front, and Todd Bowles always has a pretty solid defense, and I'm not buying into the Falcons. I have them 7-10. I know Falcons fans are pissed about it, so I'll just kind of keep it moving from that standpoint. The Panthers 6-11. I think Bryce Young has a good year, not a great year, and they're kind of about what they were last year. And the New Orleans Saints, I have them as the worst team in all of football at 3-14. Spencer Rattler's opening up the year for this team. It's going to be a bad look for them. They're going to be bad, but again, I think it's one step back for two steps forward potentially for New Orleans, but with Rattler and Shuck, being so bad that the Saints could actually get a top 5 pick this year. If you're a Saints fan and you're going to argue with me because for some reason I see that, would you not rather that? Like, would you rather be a 7-win team and not be able to get a franchise quarterback again? I'm genuinely curious to the Saints fans. They're going to say, we're going to win more games than that. You're not giving us credit. Then we get to the NFC West. I have the 49ers winning 11 games, as do I have the Rams, but I have the 49ers with the better in-division record, so they get the higher seed. San Francisco, I do think, bounces back. This is kind of typically what we see from the Niners, a really good year, followed by a bad year, followed back to a good year, then a really good year, and then the cycle continues. We're at the point in the graph where it is good year time for the San Francisco 49ers. I think Brock Purdy is a top 15 quarterback in the sport. Christian McCaffrey, if he stays healthy, is absolutely the engine of this offense. You still have Kittle, Pearsall to open up the year. Ayuk should be back at some point. The offense with Shanahan should be solid. Robert Saleh coming in should improve the defense. You have Nick Bosa, you draft Mykel Williams, Fred Warner. I have my question marks about the secondary, but ultimately, this 11-6 record does come from them also having the softest schedule in the NFL. I don't think that they're actually a better team than the Rams, who I have one spot below them in terms of standings in this division, but I think that their schedule allows them to be a better regular season team. The Rams at 11-6, man, if Stafford stays healthy, this is absolutely a tier 1 Super Bowl contending team, unlike the 49ers, to be completely honest with you. I love Puka. Devontae Adams could be the best wide receiver duo in football. Kyren Williams is solid, a good offensive line. McVay and Stafford, we know what their ceiling is together. We've seen them hoist a trophy before. The defense was young last year, got better as the year went on. Verse and Fisk is a really good pass rusher duo. I loved the Poona Ford addition. The main weakness for the Rams defense last year was you could run all over them. Poona Ford should do a good job at making sure that that can't be the case. The back seven, still young, still developing. If we see further progression, they could absolutely take the league by storm. Absolutely. I did move the Seahawks up to 9-8. I added 2 wins to them. A 7-10 didn't really feel right. A lot of people came at me for the Seahawks take. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I reevaluated and I thought, you know what? They won 10 games last year. Mike McDonald's a damn good coach. It's going to be a damn good defense. They'll probably win more games. The offense still really confuses me, man. I still can't buy into it. I thought last year's Vikings was more a product of Kevin O'Connell than Sam Darnold. JSN and Cooper Kupp still doesn't feel like a great fit to me. I like the Gray Zabel pick. I don't think the offensive line is fixed by any means, and Ken Walker can't ever stay healthy. I'm not bought into their offense. And the Cardinals, I dropped them down to 5-12. Kyler Murray, I just have grown very sour on him. I do think that the Cardinals are actually building a good foundation, but I think as long as Kyler's the quarterback, they're never going to reach their full potential. And for that, I have them at 5-12 as maybe this is the last year Kyler is a Cardinal. I'm going to pretty quickly rapid fire through my NFL award predictions. Me and Javon did a full hour podcast giving our awards. So if you want to see some in-depth takes for that, you can click that video. It'll be linked in the description and probably pop up on the screen somewhere at this point in time. But obviously go to that after you finish this video. My MVP of the league, man, it's Baker Mayfield. I think the Buccaneers earn a top 2 seed in the NFC. I think Baker once again has 4,500 passing yards, 40 plus touchdowns. I think he could cut down on the interceptions. I love the addition of Emeka Egbuka for him. They're going to have a real 2-dimensional offense with Bucky Irving all year. And in terms of the story, I think it's a great story. Baker, number 1 pick. Went to shitty Cleveland, went to shitty Carolina, figures it out in Tampa Bay, and gets to an MVP after multiple Pro Bowl seasons in a row. My offensive player of the year, I'm going with Ja'Marr Chase. Last year he won the Triple Crown, didn't get the OPOY because of the year Saquon had. Cincinnati, I don't see much changing with their circumstances, meaning they're going to have to throw the ball a fuck ton, and I think Ja'Marr Chase is absolutely going to benefit from that and absolutely put up monster numbers yet again. My defensive player of the year, Will Anderson Jr. I made this pretty known. I think the Texans have a top 5 defense in football, and I think this is the year that Will Anderson breaks through and becomes recognized as a top 5 edge rusher in football. I could see him flirting with 17, 18 sacks this year, a couple forced fumbles, and being the defensive leader on one of the best defenses in football is a good way to get yourself a defensive player of the year. Sticking in Houston, I have DeMeco Ryans winning coach of the year. I think that a lot of people are predicting the Texans to take a step back this year. And because of that, I think that when DeMeco goes out there, and this is clearly a better team than it was last year, and clearly a team that has Super Bowl aspirations over the next half decade, DeMeco gets rewarded with a Coach of the Year award. Protector of the Year, it's the first year they're doing it. I'm giving it to Lane Johnson. I think they're going to want a Hall of Fame name on the trophy. Lane Johnson absolutely is a Hall of Fame level player. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm picking Cam Ward. I think his stats are going to be good enough. And, when you can give an award to a quarterback, I think that the quarterback pretty typically usually gets it. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I went with a surprise pick, Mykel Williams of the San Francisco 49ers. I think he greatly benefits from playing next to Nick Bosa and under Robert Saleh and a 49ers defense that overachieves. I think that it is because of the pass rush and because of a guy like Mykel Williams. Comeback player of the year, I'm going chalk. I'm going Aiden Hutchinson. I think that he absolutely has a fantastic freaking year and is really, really good for that team. I don't think I missed any awards. If I did, just let me know in the comment section and I'll answer whatever award I missed. All right, now we get to my playoff predictions. These are obviously based on my division standing. So these probably won't be the NFL playoffs when we get to the playoffs, so I'm not going to spend too much time on each individual matchup, but I will give you legit reasoning. The 2 versus 7 in the AFC wildcard is the Buffalo Bills hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have Buffalo winning this game. I think Josh Allen is just way better than Aaron Rodgers at this point in their career. I do like Sean McDermott in that defense to give Pittsburgh's offense some problems. I think Pittsburgh's offense is going to be too DK Metcalf reliant to go on a playoff run. And Josh does what Josh does. And, I do think Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir take step forwards this year. Same with Dalton Kincaid, and the Bills win a home playoff game. The 3 versus 6 is the Houston Texans once again hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. I have the same outcome as last year. I have the Houston Texans winning this matchup. I think their defense still proves to be too much for the Chargers at this point in time, who have a lot of growing to do. And with Rashawn Slater out for the year and then out for this game, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter are going to be absolutely able to wreak havoc, and another strong defensive performance for Houston. And then the 4-5 matchup, the Denver Broncos hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. While I had the Broncos winning the AFC West in the regular season, I have Kansas City winning this playoff game. I'm just not betting against Mahomes in a playoff spot quite yet, especially not to a guy in his second year in Bo Nix. I think that the Chiefs are still the boogeymen of the AFC and going to be hard to beat and hard to overcome. And it's really, really hard to bet against them. And I'm not going to do it with an offense that I'm not. Offense and defense, I have to be confident in both to bet against the Chiefs. And I'm just not fully there with Denver yet. For the NFC wild card, we start with the 2 seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the 7 seed Minnesota Vikings. Give me Baker. I picked him to win MVP. I'm going to pick him to win this playoff game. When it comes down to it, both are great rosters. I believe in Baker Mayfield at this point more than I do JJ McCarthy. And a lot of times these playoff games can come down to who has the better quarterback and which quarterback can make more plays. Right now, I believe that is Baker Mayfield. The 3 seed Detroit Lions versus the 6 seed LA Rams. I have the Rams going into Detroit and winning this playoff game. A couple years ago, Detroit beat them. I think the loss of the coordinators, the loss of Frank Ragnow, while the Rams defense got better, added Poona Ford to defend the run game, and has Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, is enough with Stafford and McVay to go into Detroit and win a playoff game. It's going to be a fun fucking game. It's going to be a shootout, but give me Stafford and the Rams. And then the 49ers host the Green Bay Packers. I have Go Pack Go going into San Francisco, winning this playoff game. I don't think that San Francisco's roster is quite as talented as it was 2 years ago. I don't think that they are able to win this game, even with how good that Christian McCaffrey is. It is possible that his rushing attack makes this a lot closer than it is, because when I look at Green Bay's defense, the one weakness that they are susceptible to is the run game. But man, Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Matt LaFleur, Micah Parsons, give me them to go into San Francisco and win that playoff game. We go to the divisional round. Starting in the AFC, the 1 seed Baltimore Ravens host the 5 seed Kansas City Chiefs. And cover your ears, Ravens fans, I'm picking Patrick Mahomes to once again go into your house and upset the 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. I'll believe it when I see it with Lamar and the Ravens in the playoffs. A lot of people like to say that Lamar shook his playoff woes beating the Bills last year, but the first half, why they were down was because Lamar had some turnovers. And who do I trust more in a playoff game, Patrick or Lamar? Give me Mahomes and the Chiefs, man. The 2 seed Buffalo Bills host the 3 seed Houston Texans. I think this is going to be a very fun, competitive game and a very close game, but give me Josh Allen, man. I think that the Bills are finally ready to make that push to go to the Super Bowl, and to do so, you have to win playoff games. They're going to win this home playoff game over Houston. It's going to be fun. Houston, a little young. The offensive line, not quite there. The weapons outside of Nico Collins, not quite there. This is a good step for them. They are very competitive in this playoff game, but I think that Buffalo has more of their true identity figured out at this point in time. Going to the NFC, I have the 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles playing host to the 6 seed LA Rams. These are 2 fantastic teams, 2 legit Super Bowl contenders. I do still have the Eagles winning this game. While I think that the Rams made improvements this offseason, I do still think there's too much talent on that Eagles roster. And I think that we saw that even if the run game is a little stifled with Saquon Barkley, the Rams are a long way from being able to stop him. I'm not sure that Poona Ford completely closes that gap, and Jalen Hurts still has A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert to throw the ball to. That defense is still really legit in Philly. Matt Stafford will give them a run for their money, but I'm betting on the talent here of the Eagles. The Green Bay Packers go to Tampa Bay as the 2 seed host the 5 seed. Give me the Packers to go to Tampa Bay and win this game, man. I think it's really close. I think it's a shootout type game. I love Baker, but I have a feeling about the Packers, man. This is a top 10 defense. It's possibly a top 10 offense if Matthew Golden pans out at this point in time. They're 2-dimensional with that run game. Go Pack, go all the way to the NFC Championship. Conference Championship weekend now as the 2 seed Buffalo Bills host the 5 seed Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm picking this to finally be the year that Josh Allen gets the best of Patrick Mahomes in a playoff spot. Home field advantage. The Chiefs still have some question marks on that offensive line. This is a spot where I think the Joey Bosa addition matters a lot for Buffalo. If he's healthy and they can sustain a real pass rush we have seen, that is a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen continues to improve as a player. I thought he was really great last year. I think he'll be really great this year. Maybe one of Keon Coleman, Kincaid, and Shakir developing is just exactly what Buffalo needs. They've been knocking on that fucking door of beating Kansas City for years now. I think this is the year that they get in there, beat Kansas City at home, and go to the Super Bowl. And then we have the 5 seed Green Bay Packers traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And this is where I have the Packers run from the 5 seed ending. Again, similar to what I said when I was talking about the NFC East division preview, I look at the Philadelphia Eagles similar to how I looked at the Legion of Boom Seahawks. I think that they may be the best team of the decade. This team with Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, a top-ranked offensive line, a top-ranked defense. There's a reason they won a Super Bowl last year. And again, what is the weakness of the Packers defense? The run defense without Kenny Clark, Saquon Barkley, the best running back in football, the Eagles with a top 5 offensive line in football. I think it is too much to handle for the Green Bay Packers, and this is where their run ends. Philadelphia back to the Super Bowl. And then Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara is the Buffalo Bills versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be a really fun game. This is the game that I was hoping we would have gotten last year. Then Kansas City made it, and then the Eagles obviously got back and won. And you guys could call me a homer if you want, but I think Philly wins this game. I think Philadelphia goes back to back. I think they do what the Legion of Boom was one handoff away from Marshawn Lynch from doing. Again, I talked about this team. I view them the way that I viewed the Legion of Boom Seahawks. I still think the Legion of Boom Seahawks was the best team in the NFL that year that they lost to Brady and the Patriots. I just think they were one bad play call away from winning that game. I don't think Philly would make that same bad play call if put in that situation. I think that their offense in this game is able to shine. I don't think Buffalo's defense is quite at the level to slow down everybody on Philadelphia, and we've seen Philly play Josh Allen a couple times. Josh is great, but I don't think that the weapons quite stack up with what Philly has. It is just the most talented roster in the NFL with a proven level of being able to win at the highest level. Give me the Philadelphia Eagles going back to back in winning the Super Bowl. All right, guys, so those, as always, were just my predictions. This is going to be a long-ass video. I can't wait to edit it down. I can't wait to get it out for you guys. Give me your Super Bowl predictions. Give me your award predictions, division predictions, whatever the fuck you want to talk about in the comment section. Make sure you're subscribed for a great NFL season. We still got the White Monsty. Cheers, fellas.